Hi, my name is Justus Berger, and I was part of the recording and production team of the new Dynamo percussion library by Orchestral Tools. I'll give you a little tutorial on some creative sound design techniques that you can use to create your very own synthetic sounds from the Dynamo percussion samples or any other percussion samples that you fancy. So let's go to Cubase. So first I'd like to show you how I produced this little pad sound that you hear right at the intro. Yeah, very exciting. This, obviously it has tonal information and it's very long. So two things we didn't have in the percussion samples themselves before. So this started from one of our timpani Super Ball sounds. Super Balls are these little rubber balls on little sticks. They look like lollipops, and you can use them to rub them against vibrant materials, and they create the weirdest crazy sounds. And I think the sample that I used was on E3, it was that one. Yeah, they're extremely spheric already. You wouldn't need to do anything to them to use them as an atmospheric layer. But I wanted to have something tonal, so I needed to do something to that. And what I did was I resampled the whole thing and did some stretching and compression with it to alienate it from the timpani itself a little bit, because I didn't want a timpani, I just wanted a pad. So the raw sample that I ended up with sounded a bit like this. And you can hear there's already some tonal information going on in there, but it's very uncontrolled. And also, so the pitch is uncontrolled and also the length of the pitch is uncontrolled. So sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. And I didn't want that because you can't use that as a pad. So I tried to figure out by ear what the fundamental of this is, and first used some multiband, more or less expansion here to get the frequency out stronger a bit. Then some grain delay to get a bit more spheric already. And then the most important part comes in the EQing, which is basically, well, not that one, that's not so exciting, that's just some cutting low end to clean it up. But here it starts to get interesting. I would call these resonating EQs or resonator EQs, which is a technique I love to use for these kind of things, where you just pick out certain frequencies which you want to use as tonal information, and you boost them like crazy. I mean, this is almost 30 dB boosted here. And this way you force the audio material to sound tonally, even though it wasn't really, you could do this from white noise, it would work basically. Maybe it just wouldn't sound so cool. And so from there on, it's just a bit tweaking and trying to shape the sound the way you want it to be. Some getting off some nasty resonances, some more compression, some more strong resonating EQs. And what you can see here, like on this EQ, it's lovely to see the keys down there, so it's really easy to pitch it to the key. You could do that with any other EQ if you just find out the frequencies you need. And so I wanted to D minor chord here, so I went for D, A, and F, D, F, A, obviously. I don't know why I started with a third here, but in the second one, I went for a more simple setup, starting with D, 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 just 3 Ds to get this D minor feel out of it. Then some saturation, because everything sounds boring without saturation. And then this whole thing sounds like this. Already pretty much what we hear in the end, but obviously this is not a pad now, or I mean it is a pad, but it's very short and I couldn't use it that way. So the second very important technique I use for these pad sounds, I do this all the time for this, that's using a reverb which has an infinity setting. So it sets the reverberation time to infinite and it just keeps on producing reverberations even after the sound is already gone. And if you switch this on and let the sample run through once, you end up with a never-ending So, as I explained right now, this will leave you with a never-ending audio loop. Basically, that's a great thing. It's not really a loop. It's always changing. But you can't use it that way because it's just the reverb is gonna keep working all the time. So I re-record it on a different track and end up with a sample, a pad sample that I can use very easily. And yeah, that's what ended up in the track at the end. All right. Next, I will demonstrate how I made this little arpeggiator in the end of the track. And this was also made from the percussion samples. And the starting sample was this. And the end result was this. Alrighty. So, how did we get there? I resampled this little snare hit. I think it was the snare ensembles that I used there. Right, that one. Took a resample and again tried to figure out a fundamental frequency very similarly, and then again some resonating EQs, we know that already. Some saturation, chorus to mess up the sound a bit, and some more EQing, and that in the end leaves me still with a percussion sample, but it sounds like this now. So bit kind of belly, weirdy, plucky noise. And I exported this as an audio file and imported it into the Contact Player and did some more distortion on it, reverb, and whatnot, but nothing too fancy, and made it into a playable instrument. So it's now this. For the last thing, just throw an LFO tool on it to make it vibe a little bit, and there you go.